welcome everyone. Shalom. I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for joining us. Like Noga said, my name is Ela Metuki. I am the IAC's National Programs Education Manager, and today I have the real privilege of telling you about some of our amazing programs and how we take all of these challenges you've been hearing about and how we address them in our programs. But I'm not going to tell you myself. The IAC is really all about our community. So I have such an amazing privilege, and I have with me some incredible community members, program participants, and parents. Sometimes all three of those are the same person, who are going to tell you firsthand, and you can hear it all from them. I want you to please send us any comments, any questions you have in the chat. If you're curious about our programs, which I hope you will be, we will also put the emails that you can send to get information in the chat. And please ask your questions. We want to hear them. So now, without further ado, I want to introduce our wonderful panelists. So our first father-daughter pair is here to represent IAC Keshet. Keshet is a holistic and engaging experience for children ages 4 to 7 that connects them and their families through Hebrew language, Israeli culture, Jewish heritage, and Israel. And all of that while playing and singing and having a lot of fun. So all the way from Florida, say hi, everybody, to Daphne Fleminger and our dad, Amir. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. Okay, up next, we have another father-daughter pair, but the ages are slightly different. And they're representing IAC Eitanim, which is a cutting-edge leadership and entrepreneurship project-based learning program for today's teens and tomorrow's game changers. So here, all the way from New Jersey, not that far from me, are Noah Milman and her dad, Mark. Hi, Noah, Mark. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And finally, we have two wonderful young ladies representing Ofek Learning Hub. Ofek is a place where everyone can enjoy a variety of online classes in Hebrew, Israeli culture, enrichment for all ages in a unique learning experience that's an online school with an Israeli twist. So from Ofek, we have Mayan Saidoff. Hi, Mayan.
Hi.
Debbie Saidoff, who's both Mayan's grandma and a student herself. I told you it would be two young women, and here they are. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. There's so many of you. We're from all over the place, California, New Jersey, Florida. I'm in Brooklyn. So I'm so glad that you joined me, and we're going to jump right in. So Daphne, I want to start with you. Daphne, can you tell me a little bit about that shirt that you're wearing? Can you tell me what's special about it?
When I wear it, it reminds me of a special group.
Yeah.
A special group. What special group?
Kiss group.
Yeah. Daphne, it's totally okay to be shy. It's totally fine. Sometimes I get a little shy when a lot of people are looking too. It's okay. And Daphne, can you tell me about something on your shirt that reminds you of Israel?
The Hebrew flag and the rainbow.
The rainbow. The rainbow is keshet. We know that word, right? Keshet means rainbow. And keshet reminds you of Israel. I love that. So Daphne, while all of us slightly older people are speaking, would you draw us a picture, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. I will check in with you in a little bit, and I'll kind of see what you're doing. So Emil, while Daphne is busy drawing, which is great, we talk a lot at Keshet about Israeliness and the Israeli spirit. Why is that something that's important to you and your family in a program that Daphne is attending?
Well, for me as an Israeli away from Israel, living in the U.S., I'm missing the sense of, I guess, I'm using the definition to say it, but the sense of Israeliness, the sense of community that for people from the same background, the togetherness, the feeling of having something in common, like the same language, the Jewish culture, and the songs, the holidays. So all that stuff, I'd like my kids, even though we live away from Israel, I'd like them to have a sense of that, so they have some kind of connection to the family back in Israel, or Saba Savta, Nedudim, ולכולם.
Beautiful. And I know a lot of us here have family in Israel that we want to connect to. So Noam, I want to ask you about Eitanim. At Eitanim, we connect to a lot of things about Israel and Israeliness. How has participating in Eitanim made you connect with your family in Israel?
Right, so that's a really good question, actually. So before Eitanim, when my parents would talk to my family in Israel about the Startup Nation and Israel's impact as a whole, I really didn't understand that because it didn't affect me as much because we don't learn about that in school. But after Eitanim, I understood the Startup Nation a lot better and in greater detail, and I understood Israel's impact on the rest of the world. So now when my parents are talking to my family in Israel, I find myself being an active part of that conversation through the knowledge I learned at Eitanim.
That is awesome. We're talking about feeling like we know our family. We're talking about the Startup Nation. And speaking of all these connections, Maayan, I want to ask you, I know that you took an Israeli spirit class about Jewish heroes at Ofek. So can you tell us a little bit about a hero you especially liked and what it meant to learn about them?
Well, one of my favorite Jewish heroes was Janusz Korczak. He was an educator, and he took care of underprivileged kids. He wrote 2 very important books, one including How to Love a Child. And when World War II started, he took all the kids and made an orphanage for them. He stayed with these kids all the way to the end, even when he was taking them to their deaths, and he helped them not feel afraid or alone. So it really means a lot to me. I just imagine how my whole family might have been feeling and what they might have been doing during the Holocaust. And it makes it feel more of a reality than like a faraway memory, even though it wasn't very long ago. Also, I can relate a lot more to kids. I can put myself into their shoes.
Wow. Yeah. I love that. So Debbie, not everyone can see, but I can see your smile while Maayan is speaking. So as Maayan's grandma, I'm curious, how does it feel? What does it mean for you that she's connecting to Israel and to her Jewish heritage like this?
Oh, I'm just so incredibly proud of her. First of all, for us, the real focus of life is to have Israel show up in the country as a country among nations, and that our kids really have a sense of their own Judaism and their Israeliness, and that it's part of their DNA. And when I hear how Mayani has experienced this through the OPEC program, she's really had a creative and imaginative way of getting there, and really, I can see that she relates in a way that is really visceral for her. And besides that, she's very well spoken, and I'm really happy to hear her say all of that.
She is really well spoken. That is very true. And we've heard actually so much today about having an emotional connection when we're online, how we can provide our kids with these visceral experiences like you're saying. So it's really, I have to say, it's nice for me, even though I'm not her grandma, to hear it too. But it makes me feel super proud too. So we talked a lot about the family connection and the connection to Israel. And I want to talk a little bit about our connection to our communities here and how participating in the ISE programs has made a difference for you there. So Amir, at Keshet, kids can meet with other kids that are like them, and they can make new friendships, and they can spend quality time and develop their social skills. But it's really for the whole family. It's a family experience. So I'm curious, how has Keshet made you connect to your community differently?
Well, for me, I've been living here for many years, around here in Central Florida, and I wasn't aware of how many Israelis actually live here till we joined Keshet, and suddenly we started connecting with these wonderful families from around the area and from around other places, and it was just very nice to finally feel some kind of a connection to like people that come from the same background, like that live here, to have the same experience of being a former or current Israeli that lives here, and have similar values and backgrounds and traditions that made you feel makes us feel a lot more connected.
That is awesome. Yeah. I see Daphne is working really hard on her drawing. So Daphne, do you want to show us how you're doing just so far. I know it's not done. Oh, wow, I see a tree. I see fruit.
It's an
What else?
apple tree.
Apples. Why apples all of a sudden at this time of year?
Why apples?
I just wanted to make it special.
To make it special.
Nice. I like that.
Daphne, did you eat some apple on a recent holiday maybe?
Well,
What holiday did we have last week? Do you remember?
Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah.
I dipped it in it in honey.
You dipped the apple in the honey. I love
It tastes
that.
so good.
Yeah, this time of year, I always find myself drawing a lot of apples. But Daphne, is drawing something that you like to do at Keshet?
Yeah.
And what else? What else are fun things to do at Keshet?
Making crafts and dancing
Love
and
dancing.
on the play and playing on the playground.
Yeah, we can play on the playground and we're online. Sometimes we can play other games. What's the game we can play when we're online?
Um,
Do you remember the questions?
yeah, the questions game.
Yeah, I remember questions. So we had
Yeah, it was so fun.
yeah.
Game.
It was fun. We played Kahoot,
Mhm.
right? That was super fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, okay, Daphne, you keep working on your drawing, and I'll come back to you in just a little bit. So, Debbie, other than being Mayan's very proud grandma, of course, you also yourself are a student at Ofik. You took a Hebrew class for adults, right?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
So, you know, Amita's kind of talking about not knowing that there are many other Israeli families and who they are, but you live in LA, where, as we know, there are many, many, many Israelis and many, many opportunities to learn Hebrew in many different places. So why Ofik? What made you choose Ofik?
Well, firstly, I have my very own Israeli that I live with, Nati, and I just really wanted to improve my Hebrew, but I was always a little intimidated. And Ofik offered me an opportunity that was really, it was just easy, you know. It was a very accepting environment, very non-threatening, and it was also an opportunity to connect with some Israelis that are across the country, not just right here.
Very cool. And Mark, you and Noam, you live in New Jersey in a place that we sometimes refer to as the kibbutz, because there are so many Israelis there, and there's Sufim, and there are after schools, and there are a million Israeli activities and a million Israeli things to do. So what made you choose Eitanim as another Israeli program for Noam?
Yeah, I had the same question when my wife brought Eitanim to me. I said, another program? And what got me really excited is the leadership aspect. And that's for a couple of reasons. The first one, I think leadership as a topic or as a subject is an underinvested area in the traditional school system. And although some people might think, you know, you have these natural born leaders, I do believe that leadership without the skills, the learnable skills, you got to have them to be an effective leader. And so actually investing in that is super important. And in a sense that, you know, us as Jews and Israeli community, I think having a long-term strategic view of actually investing in the next generation of leaders is super, super important for us being such a small nation.
Yeah, and Eitanim works in the entrepreneurship world, and you come from the tech world as a tech leader in Google. So you're talking about those skills. Are there any specific skills that you saw that Noam got at Eitanim?
I think at a high level, what really stands out that Noam really developed a broad perspective. And what I mean by a broad perspective is basically she now has a deeper appreciation and understanding of the complexities and the interdependencies when you embark on a major project or an initiative. And she's now able to better connect the dots. And as she mentioned earlier, she's really contributing and engaging in meaningful conversation as a result. In addition, you know, when you think about skills, you know, in your career, presentation skills really, really stand out in that respect. It's not that she was able to acquire not only, the technical aspects of how you put a slide deck together, but actually how do you create a compelling, engaging presentation, taking the complexities of an initiative or a business initiative and simplifying it in an engaging way in a time-bound fashion. And I think that was really, really cool to see. And being part of it, for me personally, created a lot of nachat. So that's also a great benefit that you'll have.
Talking a lot about pride and nachat and all the things that we want to have that make our children roll their eyes. So speaking of which, Noam, is he right? Can you give us an example of a skill like that you learned at Eitanim?
So Eitanim actually taught me like a bunch of skills, but to narrow it down to a few, my dad alluded to earlier on the presentation aspect and how to present information. Before, I thought every presentation was kind of built the same, but in Eitanim, in the first few weeks, we really honed in on how to present information that not only the audience understands, but actually is engaged in, which is a skill that I didn't know before. In addition to that, he also alluded to the fact that how to create an idea and how to present an idea in a small period of time. And in the hackathons, we had 5 hours to get a team together and come up with a product, which is crazy. So I learned a lot how to work under pressure. And I also learned how to be confident in my public speaking skills. Funny story, actually. So in Eitanim, there was an event where the parents came to see the middle school and the high school kids' presentations. And in the middle of the middle school presentations, all the electricity cut out, including the mics and the screens. So the kids had to go off the stage. And there was this long period of awkward silence. So instead of letting that silence continue, I went up on stage and I started telling jokes. And one of the jokes that really got the audience attention was, what's the difference between broccoli and snot? Kids don't eat broccoli. Now, before I would have never had the confidence to say that kind of joke anywhere, let alone go up on stage. So it really saved the night, and it was an unforgettable experience.
Noam, I love that joke, first of all, and I love that story. And I think maybe we'll keep you on hand for tomorrow's eSummit, just in case anything happens. You can come up for a short little stand big, just in case, with all those skills you learned at Eitanim. So now, and it's getting to be almost time for us to say goodbye, which is incredible. I want to address the elephant in the Zoom, or the elephant in the chat anyway. We've heard a lot today, and we're seeing a lot of questions about how do we do all this online? Okay, it's all great. These programs are amazing, but how do we do this online? How do we do this on Zoom? We've been hearing from so many experts today that it's not about online or offline, right? It's about what you do with the time online. It's about the quality of the time that we're spending. So I want to ask Maayan, your school is entirely online, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and Ofik is online too. So what made it different, not just another online class that you had to log on to?
So it wasn't really just educational. It was really fun. My teacher asked me and my classmates to imagine what we would do if we were in the Jewish hero's place. And he would ask us before he told us how the story ended. So it really kept me and my classmates engaged. Also, another thing that's really cool about being online than to be in person is you can literally be anywhere in the world. And it wouldn't really disturb your experience. It's a lot less stress when you don't really need to go in the car and get somebody else to drive you. When the Ofik, I could just go onto my computer and log on without any help. So it was really fun. And there was a lot of different people that I got to meet.
That's awesome. You're independent. I love it. And I want to ask, because I'm also seeing a lot of questions about how do we do this with the younger ages. So Amir and Daphne, I want to come back to you for a moment. And Amir, because Keshet during the spring and the summer happened online, it happened in your living room and you could see it, and you could see Daphne attend in real life. So what did you see that made online work?
So, of course, there's advantages for being physically in class and everything, and that's unfortunately that's the way of the world right now. But there are a lot of things that we're able to do online that I don't think would ever be possible in class, as we had performances done by famous Israeli artists that were just for IAC and Keshet kids. We had trivia games that were, I think, Daphne's most favorite activity with the Kahoot app, and it was like competing against like, I don't know what, hundreds, thousands of people. It was so that was a lot of fun. Do you remember any games you played other than that, Daphne? Other things we did?
Um,
Do you remember?
red lights,
Yeah, how's it called? Green light?
red lights, green lights.
Yeah, so that was another one of her favorite activities.
Daphne, how do you play red light, green light, 1, 2, 3 on a computer? How does it work?
First, you have to go somewhere far. Then, when someone turns around and close their eyes and says green lights, you have to go. And when they close their eyes and they turn back around, they said red light. And when you go all the way to the computer, you will win.
Yeah.
Amazing. So it's the same game. In Hebrew, we call it Achat Shtayim Shalosh Dag Maluach, which is a very silly name. It's the same game, but it's on a computer. Amazing. One of my favorite things to do at Keshet, I'm going to share, is sing, but I'm not going to sing. Daphne, is there any song that you remember from Keshet that you could maybe sing with your cousins or on Zoom with your friends who are Israeli?
The happy birthday song, and
How does it go?
the
Ayom,
Yom Meled,
ayom,
Meled, Yom Meled,
Tlemi Shehu.
It's a Yom Meled, Yom Meled.
I'm sure everyone who's watching us right now is clapping for you. I am, because that was really great. So with that little bit of sweetness that we all need in these times, I want to say a huge thank you and toda rabah to all of our participants today: Amir, Daphne, Debbie, Mayan, Mark, Noam, all ages, all over. And I really hope that this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's just a little half-hour snippet. So please come to our website. There are some links in the chat. Please come and join us. And we really hope to see you and your wonderful kids and adults with us this year. Thank you so much, everybody. Hi, thank you.
Bye.